we sit in,
Yeah,
where do you want
please.
us?
Yeah.
In front anyway.
Anywhere around. Ready?
Good evening and welcome to the 43rd on the Nail Literary Gathering, organised by the Limerick Writers' Centre, supporting arts and culture in Limerick since 2009. Tonight we have four special guest readers, Joe Healy, Keith Armstrong, and Mike and Austin Durack, plus an open mic after the reading. Anyone who wants to read at the open mic, please let Dominic know before it begins in approximately an hour's time. Also, I'd like to draw your attention to our book table. There are books by local and guest authors, so please browse through them. And if you like, show your support by buying one. Mike and Austin Durack, natives of Board Hill, County Tipperary, currently resident in Ballina and O'Brien's Bridge, respectively, will present pieces from their recently released album, The Secret Chord, that includes poems by Mike and instrumental originals by Austin. Mike Durack was a founder and member of Kildare Writers Group. His poems have appeared in literary journals such as Incognito, The Burning Bush, Flaming Arrows, The Cafe Review, Portland, Maine, The Stony Thursday Book and Poetry Ireland Review. And they have aired on national and local radio. A chapbook, Nothing to Write Home About, was published in 1988, and A Hairy Tale of Clare, comic narrative in verse, was published in 1994. Austin's career as singer, guitarist and composer has yielded 9 albums and frequent airplay on national radio and television stations, and he is a regular performer in restaurants and concerts and festivals. His most recent instrumental albums, Drops of Jazz 2012 and A Guitar Journey 2008, received critical and popular acclaim. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike and Austin Durack.
Once filled with clean electric sounds from Hank B. Marvin's red Fender guitar. The Beatles poured in raucous harmonies and far-out echo chamber voice refrains. Then came the Byrds with Dylan rhymes alighting, all jangling 12 strings, cymbals cascading. The Beach Boys' sleek West Coast falsettos, Simon and Garfunkel's cloister euphonies. Now it's the subtle, unplugged muse who plucks the big bass notes and sets the words at large to swell and wail and chime and echo, and images to float on purple waves. Printed poems strum rhythms in my ear, insistent as the racy Mersey beat. next poem has a pretentious title. It's called Prothermian, which I think means a wedding song or wedding poem. And I wrote it for the wedding of a young friend of mine, son of friends of mine, who came from our own neck of the woods out by the Shannon in Burt Hill, Killaloo. And he married a girl from Mississippi State in America. And I was trying to find some way of putting this poem together, so I came up with the metaphor of the Mississippi and Shannon waters merging. Sadly, the poem has outlived the marriage. Prothermian. Ceaseless sweep of big muddy water, carry the soul of Magnolia State, spirit of forest and cotton field, soul of Caucasian, Negro, Choctaw, spirit of Jackson, Natchez, Starkville, born by dugout and paddle steamer, past bluff and levee and delta silt, down to the Gulf of Mexico. And spirit of Shannon, wind and surge, by Long Meadow and Royal Fort, glide underneath the White Bird's Hill, and carry a tale of she and Ordry, of Norse and Norman, of Gael and Gaul, with barge and cruiser and sailing skiff, past Diarmid and Grania's silken bed, to the yawning sea by Lover's Leap. Beneath white horses of boundless ocean, currents course, eddy and mingle, waters of Clare and cool Tipperary, caressing the tide of warm Mississippi, ferried by Gulf Stream and Atlantic drift.
The Secret Chord. This is the title track of the CD. So just in case I don't give you a look at it, in case anybody wants to buy a copy, we've got a couple of copies in back here. And this is a poem that Mike wrote for me about, it was the launch of one of my albums, and it was called, it was about my influences. The poem is about my influences, my various influences in music.
trucker out of Tupelo set it rolling. A New York prophet blew it in the wind. West Coast surfers rode it. Scousers in caves yelled it. A minstrel from Ontario bore it, quit strumming on a big steel rail. Multitoned it beckoned, from white-winged ghosts in organ lofts, from Russian gypsies, Appalachian maids, Spanish strings, a Chinese leotine, a horseman out of Cork, a honey boy.
I feel so lucky. I met this man called Honey Boy. I feel so lucky. Met this man called Honey Boy. I spoke to him on Clear FM radio. I heard him play the blues down in Miles's Creek in Kilkee that very same night. He was older than my father. He wore a suit and shiny shoes. He was older than my father. He wore a suit and shiny shoes. He smiled just like a baby, but he would scowl when he would sing blues. It was raining as we were driving home that night. Yeah, it was raining as we were driving home that night. The radio might have been playing, but I had David Honeyboy Edwards on my mind. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Honey Boy. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Honey Boy. The moment that I met you, you made my life a ball of joy.
What's another continent, another world, in balance with this mystic note, this secret chord? The next poem is called Kildare, October 1999, and it's a variation on Heraclitus's notion that you can't walk in the same river twice. It's transcribed to Kildare. power station, power steering, middle age. Contemplating the millennium and the Rugby World Cup. Time pauses, rewinds on a Kildare horizon, where sheep crop the skin of an outwashed plain. Sheep of Jacob and Laban, sheep of Bethlehem. Bo Peep's flock, Mary's grown-up lambs, the strayed sheep, the unlost 9 and 90. Sheep to count yourself to sleep by. Sheep through a carriage window, 1961. Child eyes, gallops, short grass. The Curragh exotic as Sahara or the bush. The jeep counts concrete overpasses where towns like Naas and Newbridge used to be. And a metaphysical murmur infiltrates the small talk and cigarette smoke. You can't drive a jeep through the same grass twice. You cannot regard the same sheep twice. Okay, it's a little bit late. It's a few months late for a Valentine, but anytime it's a good time for a Valentine. This is not a conventional Valentine anyway, and the tune that goes with it is called I Fell in Love. You're the chill in my fingers, the oil slick on my beach, the smudge on my halo, my shelf out of reach, the hiss in my earphone, the bubble on my pint, the wobble in my steering, my nose out of joint. You're the shadow at the edge of my candlelight, the pitch dark lining on my silver cloud, the tunnel at the end of my rainbow delight, the poker face in my cheering crowd. Once, for a time, before the sun turned black, before the final straw hit the camel's back, then I was your slipstream dinghy, your Hollywood sign, your sugar in the cereal, your Valentine.
Okay, we're going to finish with thanks very much for having us, Dominic, and thanks to all of you for listening. It's a pleasure to be here. Maybe the poet was here before, but it's a long road for us singing and songwriters and buskers to make it to a theatrical stage. He's been there a few times. This is one actually that our first ever performance together was 19 years ago. It was 1994. Well, that's, you know, you can do your own maths on it. I'm not good at maths, but I figure it's 19 years. I was about to do a sponsored walk for Multiple Sclerosis Ireland on the Camino de Santiago, and we had a fundraiser out in Kildare, the Lakeside Hotel, and Mike organised a number of his writers group from Kildare, who were very lively group at the time. They had a lot of members. So it was a lovely evening that we had, and Mike wrote a poem for me. He was about to undertake the Clare 250-mile cycle himself for a charitable cause as well. So he wrote this poem for me called The Road. And subsequently I wrote a whole lot of music being inspired by the Camino itself and maybe by Mike's poem. So the poem is called The Road, and the piece of music that was inspired from all these sources was called Pilgrim Theme.
we stride, making our ramble a Via Dolorosa. Bellyache as though our drooping arms were splayed upon a cross. Whine through healthy larynxes when raindrops patter on our scalps, or the random sun glares boldly on our wholesome irises. Tomorrow, on the long rides to Kilshanny, I will tilt my face to the rain clouds for the ones without the wherewithal, and dance on the pedals to the metre of swishing tires. And you will exult on the pilgrim's trail, striking shoe sole music from the dusty Camino. A tray of nice things